What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Circa. My name is Omar Muhammad, and I'm in Washington, D.C. at the U.S. Capitol building on the South Lawn. As you can see, there are a bunch of shoes here on the South Lawn, about 7,000 to be exact. 7,000 shoes to be exact. This is an organization who did this as a monument of all the kids who have lost their lives to gun violence since the Newtown shooting. As you can see, there's some shoes, a lot of them, all of kids' sizes, even small as this one right here. Again, this is supposed to be a monument, a representation for all the kids who have lost their lives since the Newtown shooting. This is in Washington, D.C. in the U.S. Capitol. I'm going to grab an organizer to speak for a while. People have stopped by and left notes just like this one. That reads, "For all our kids, love, Bet." Now, as you can see, there is a lot of death here. 7,000 shoes, all donated to organizations around the D.C., Maryland, and Virginia area. I'm going to, in a minute, grab an organizer to talk more about this. But yeah, more notes. Oh, excuse me. This one says, "Thank you." Seems to be left by some parents here. Now, this does come a few months after, or a couple weeks after, another school shooting in Florida. And later on this week, I think tomorrow actually, kids will be marching out of classes in protest for gun reform. But today, parents, as you can see, are gathered out here for this monument in honor of the kids. We're going to get a few shots of these shoes. If you're just joining us here on Circa, what you're looking at is a monument full of children's shoes. 7,000 to be exact, to represent the 7,000 children who have lost their lives to gun violence since the Newtown shooting. That's when a man went to a school and shot and killed some children. Using a rifle. I'm going to grab an organizer sometime soon. Let me see if I can grab one of them now. Excuse me. Did you help organize this? Is anyone here an organizer?
Yeah.
All right, we're live on Facebook right now. I'm with Circa.
Sure.
Can you just talk about what's happening out here today?
Sure. Today we've set up a memorial. We have over 7,000 pairs of shoes here to represent the over 7,000 young people who have died to mass shootings since the Newtown massacre in 2012.
And what made you come up with the idea of using shoes, children's shoes?
So there's been tragic heartbreak felt in communities across the country where these mass shootings have happened. Congress does a great deal of sending hopes and prayers and not doing much, and we wanted to take that grief and that heartbreak and bring it right to Congress's doorstep. And we did it with the shoes because those people who are killed, they can't be here themselves to bring their voice to Congress. So we brought these shoes here today to bring their voices and call on legislatures to pass real good gun legislation now.
Now, these shoes were donated by people in the D.C., Maryland, Virginia area. Any other places also donated these shoes?
So we had an overwhelming response from people here in the D.C. area. We also put out a call that folks could mail in their shoes. Mm-hmm. And we had a warehouse where every day a post truck was coming in and shoes were dumping out from all over the country.
And I saw somewhere that there were some celebrities that also donated shoes. Could you name
we have
them?
shoes from Chelsea Handler, Alyssa Milano, Vanessa Bayer, Bette Midler. There's been a huge outpouring of celebrity support of this as well.
And what's the organization that's organizing this monument here?
The organization is called Avaaz, AVAAZ.
And what does Avaaz stand for?
Avaaz means voice in a number of different languages and dialects. It's a global civic movement of over 44 million people around the world. We have members in every country, every corner of the planet.
And, you wanted to bring a voice out to Congress. Do you know if anyone from Congress is actually, know that this monument is happening, and has anyone reached out to you guys and said anything about this?
Yeah, we've heard from some members of Congress. We know that they're literally inside. We've had some staff members from different offices run out here and say that the members are watching and they know what's going on.
Thank you very much.
Of course. Thank you.
And that was a volunteer with Avaaz, the group organizing this monument here. 7,000 shoes to represent the 7,000 lives that have been lost here. Young lives that have been lost since 2012 in the Newtown shooting. This comes weeks after a shooting in Florida that took even more lives, and now we've seen a backlash from students to lawmakers asking for reform. And you kind of get a sense while you're out here. You see the size of these shoes. These are essentially baby shoes here. And I think that's the kind of message they're trying to send here. Now, President Trump has met with students from the high school that the shooting was last week. There's been town halls with Senator Rubio. 7,000 shoes for $7,000. This is what they're representing. Welcome to Circa. If you're just tuning in, what you're looking at are a bunch of shoes right outside the U.S. Capitol building of Washington, D.C. And they're not here for no reason in particular. These shoes are to represent the 7,000 lives, children's lives, who have died since Newtown. So these are the 7,000 shoes, all representing a different life, a different life that has been lost to gun violence since the Newtown shooting in 2012. 7,000 children have died, according to this organization that's put on this monument, Aviva. They say that 7,000 children have died since the Newtown shooting in 2012. Now, we all know this follows weeks and weeks of, weeks after gun violence in Florida recently. And this is just one of the protests going on this week. Tomorrow, students all across the nation are expected to walk out of classes and march for reform. Circa will bring you that as well. But just giving you a depth. These are 7,000 feet here, or a symbol of 7,000 feet here. All the bodies that have died. We just spoke to an organizer who said, these kids aren't alive to speak and fight for themselves, so that they took it upon themselves to fight for them. President Trump has met with some of the survivors from the Florida shooting. There have been multiple town halls. A lot of the children are asking politicians to denounce the NRA and to protect them first. And this is no small feat. They say these shoes came from all over the country. People were allowed to mail them in. People in the D.C., Maryland, and Virginia area phoned them in. Not phoned them in, sent them in. Even celebrities, he said, like Chelsea Handler, Melissa Milano, Vanessa Bayer, all contributed to get this monument up and running today, this morning. All these shoes, all these children's shoes, all to make a point, and you can tell the children's shoes just by the size of them. You just take a look here. These are all worn children's shoes. Hello, how are you?
Are you filming right now?
Yes, we're live on Facebook right now. Hi, how can I help you? Are you an organizer? Yeah. You can only imagine all these shoes. I'm going to give you guys a wide shot in a minute just so you can see the depth of how many lives have been lost since the 2012 Newtown shooting massacre. Just take a look at that. This isn't even at the top of the monument here. This is just a side angle halfway through. All of these shoes, all representing a different life that has been lost. And these shoes came from all around the country, the DMV area, actresses, celebrities, all sending a message out here outside the Capitol building in Washington, D.C., all sending a message to politicians saying that there needs to be some type of gun reform. Now we know that that's been on the table for a few weeks now since the shooting in Florida. It's a very cold and windy day out here. So you have to imagine, the kind of work that went into this to have this up and running by 8:30 in the morning. Something's happening back here. Hold on. I don't know if this is part of the protest or there's a bunch of children running. Oh, they're going in the other direction. These shoes are very visible if you come onto the Capitol building, as you can see. Children visiting from wherever school or wherever from. So, this is definitely making an impact. Because just as you pass by, you can see all these shoes. I'm going to see if I can grab another organizer in a minute. If you're just tuning in, we're right outside the U.S. Capitol building in Washington, D.C. As you can see, such a large number of shoes sitting right here on the South Lawn, all representing a different life, young life, child's life that has been lost since 2012 in Newtown shootings. An organization to be the ask for donations of children's shoes from all across the country. They got a huge response. Definitely met the need just to give politicians an idea of how many people have lost their lives to gun violence since 2012. And just to give you even more depth here, I'm going to lean down just so you can see how far it goes. This is really taking up a large number of lawn here. As you can see, the lawn extends, well, the south side extends this wide. Okay. So it's a pretty long field. And these shoes, I would say, at least run as far as a football field. At least. And that's how many children's lives have been lost. This monument is expected to be up until about 2 o'clock today. It opened when the Capitol opened at 8:30. That's when these shoes became visible to the public. And as you see, people are just walking by. This woman here is just walking her dogs. And she stopped when she saw this just to know what's going on. Try to find a organizer to stay by.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I am. You should be hearing it. Okay, thank you. Yvonne. I'm Julie. Okay, thank you.
Maybe you can just pick them up and hold them for us, portrait style. Look at the camera. You guys are so awesome.
Well, this is our job. And she was one of you guys. And she was part of the fraternity. So if we weren't doing this, she would be pissed. I mean, seriously, that's
Seems to be two parents here. I'm gonna try to grab them after they're done with this crew here.
and we have a poster of this that we're going to be carrying for these kids. Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh, you're doing great.
Right side, up down.
So if you're just joining in the circle right now, live on our Facebook page, we're outside the Washington, right in D.C., outside the U.S. Capitol, where a monument for the lives lost by gun violence since 2012's Newtown shooting is being held. 7,000 shoes are here. 7,000 shoes represent 7,000 lives that have been lost to gun violence. Right here, I believe, are the parents of a victim of gun violence. I believe this is Allison Parker's parents. I believe that's the journalist who lost her life to a former colleague a few years ago. I'm going to try to grab them when they're done with this crew here. And, you know, a lot of people are committed to this cause. It's very cold in Washington, D.C. today. Expected to snow at some point. So please excuse the sniffling and everything. But
It just seems like it's either like this. Yeah.
And like I said earlier, guys, people are leaving notes for these kids that have lost their lives in these shoes. This one, I don't know if you guys could read it, so I'll read it for you. Excuse me. I'm almost 2 years old. My birthday is in April. I don't want to be shot. I don't want my mommy or daddy to be shot either, or my grandma. My grandma tried to make the world a safer place for me. She helped display 40,000 pairs of shoes right here in 1994 in what she called a silent march to protest gun violence. Right here in front of Congress. Some of them belong to people who died for guns. That was a quarter century ago. Since then, 750,000 Americans have died from gun violence. So, oh man, thanks. You gotta find it. That was blowing away in the wind. Don't want to ruin that. Don't want that message to be lost. So these are the kind of messages that people are leaving here. Going to monument. So some of these shoes come with messages. Without picking this one up. This one says, these shoes are for our monument for the Capitol lawn. Thank you. That white. So it's not just shoes here. Some of them are dedication to other people, to other children who have lost their lives. And as you can see, there is an impact here. These shoes starting to draw a crowd. Let me see if I can zoom in. You can see a bunch of teenagers walking by and looking at the shoes that are supposed to represent lost lives. This is 2002. Excuse the shots, guys. It's windy. My nose is running a little bit. These kids are starting to see all these shoes here. Excuse me, are you an organizer? Hey, we're live on Facebook, circuit.com. You mind speaking to us? Hi, Joseph. We're live on Facebook right now. Can I have you stand this way so the sun is not blocking your shot? Can you just talk about the importance of this monument out here on the U.S. Capitol?
Absolutely. So what you see right here are 7,000 pairs of shoes. That's honoring and representing 7,000 kids, 7,000 young people who have been killed by guns in the U.S. since the Sandy Hook school shooting. And we want to put this on Congress's doorstep and make sure they know that the American people are demanding action. This is a tragedy. Each one of these represents a family that's lost a loved one. And we are here to say not one more. It's time for change.
And we're seeing a lot of messages along with some of these shoes here, right?
Absolutely.
So you know who left these shoes? I mean, who left these messages here under the shoes?
Well, we have a number of families here who've lost kids. One of them is Tom Mauser. His son Daniel was killed in the Columbine massacre. So I think that goes to show that there's still parents from many school shootings. You know, Parkland just happened, but this is something that's happening now every couple of weeks. This doesn't go away. That was 20 years ago. He's still mourning, but he's also here fighting, and he came to bring that message right to Congress too, to tell Congress for Daniel, for all these kids, so that we don't have any more kids dying from easily preventable deaths from guns in this country.
And I'm sure there are people out there who are saying, you know, this is just another protest, but nothing gets done with these protests. Do you guys have a next step after this? What's the plan?
I think a lot of us feel that this is a moment in the U.S. where we're seeing a culture change. The students are rising up. I think I'm no longer a student, but I find a lot of inspiration in the students in Parkland and across the country that are speaking just deep truth about the power of the gun lobby, calling out our representatives, asking them to work to save lives and not to save gun profits. And so this is happening tomorrow. There's a national student walkout. March 24th, there's the March for Our Lives. They expect hundreds of thousands of people here in D.C., marches all over the country. I think this movement is going to keep going and going, and we're not going to stop until this body, this Congress, works to enact laws to protect kids in this country from guns.
Now I gotta ask you: is it just children being represented here? 7,000 children? Because I believe there are two parents over here that are representing their daughter, who I believe was an adult when she was gunned down by violence. Is it just children these shoes are representing, or there's some adults as well?
The shoes are representing specifically the number of kids, which is 7,000 since Sandy Hook. Obviously, that's a small comparative number to how many Americans die every year in gun violence. But the number, there are some parents whose adults were victims of gun violence. But the 7,000 shoes represent the 7,000 kids who died by guns since Sandy Hook.
And when you guys started organizing this, I was told by another organizer that you guys received a lot of support from celebrities like Alyssa Milano or whatever, and Vanessa Bayer. So how exactly did you get your word out, and how wide a range do you think the support is?
I think a lot of people.
Excuse me, sorry.
Sorry about that.
No, you're fine.
Absolutely. So I think, celebrities are parents too, and a lot of people are here because they have kids, and they relate to the pain of parents who've lost their kids to guns. And so, Miss Milano, Bette Midler, Chelsea Handler got those shoes. A number of people are coming and leaving shoes for their family members too. And I think it's just Americans in general across the board, gun owners even, massive majorities of gun owners are calling for better gun laws, universal background checks. I think there's just bipartisan, all-American desire across the country now for action. We've had enough. This is insane. We don't have to live like this.
We saw after the recent shooting in Florida, we saw President Trump meet with some students, and we saw a lot of town halls. What do you think about his response to what happened and what needs to be done?
I mean, from what I can tell, President Trump has already handed over policy back to the NRA and the gun lobby. Even the Parkland students have said the same thing. He's already backtracked on, some of the things he said he was going to do or get behind, such as upping the age limit for buying guns. Right now, the only thing the federal government and President Trump has said is putting forward this policy of arming teachers, which most sane people think is crazy. We don't need schools that are filled with armed teachers. That's just a recipe for more tragedy. I think change is going to come when we go to the ballot box this fall, elect more lawmakers that are going to represent what the vast majority of American people want, not what the gun lobby wants.
Thank you. What's your name again?
Joseph Huffhanen with a Vaz.
Thank you very much, Joseph.
Thank you.
We are live outside Washington, D.C., outside the U.S. Capitol building for this monument. You just heard Joseph talk about what it represents, 7,000 kids who've lost their lives. Even while we were speaking, we saw a woman just come and add shoes to the monument. Earlier before that, we saw It's not it's not a summer day out here, guys. It's very cold. The shoes are starting to blow away. But that didn't stop them from coming and making a difference. What's going on, everybody? If you're just tuning in, we're live on Facebook outside the U.S. Capitol building in Washington, D.C., where an organization has dropped 7,000 shoes, pairs of shoes, that is, to represent the 7,000 children who have lost their lives since the Newtown shooting in 2012. It is the first this week in a bunch of protests that happened this week. And a protest for gun reform. How much longer? If you're just tuning in, we are live outside the U.S. Capitol building in Washington, D.C., where this row of shoes, this football field length of shoes, is representing the 7,000 children who have lost their lives to gun violence since 2012, since that deadly mass shooting at a Newtown school, at a school in Newtown. Oh my goodness. How much longer? I don't know. I'm moving feeling in my fingers. Welcome to Circuit, guys. If you're just now joining us, we are live outside the U.S. Capitol, Washington, D.C. Outside for this shoe monument. 7,000 pairs of shoes, all representing a different child who has lost their lives to gun violence since 2012. That's when the Newtown shooting occurred. The organization has brought these shoes to Congress's doorstep to show them how many lives have been lost and that they believe that gun reform needs to happen so that 7,000 more lives aren't lost. Now you can see, zoom in so you can see the size of these shoes. These are children shoes. These are, I would say, if I had to guesstimate, the size of these shoes doesn't go past size 8, 9, 10 maybe. All representing a life that we have lost since 2012 to gun violence. And they said, I spoke to a couple organizers, and they said, you know, if you brought it to Congress's door, they can't ignore it. We spoke to someone earlier just a few minutes ago who explained that he believes that there is a bipartisan push to have gun reform, and the time to act is now. Now, President Trump did meet with some students from Florida a couple weeks ago after another mass shooting happened at a school. And this is not a warm day, guys. These shoes have been placed here on a very, very cold day in Washington, D.C. And I don't know if you can see, I'm trying to zoom in so you can get an idea. There are people showing up. There are people watching. Even the young kids. I'm going to try to work my way over to them so we can get a young person's perspective on the impact of this monument here. You got shooting? Sorry. Excuse me. Are you guys here on a trip? Or?
Yeah, I have a scooter here.
We're live on Facebook. I work with Social. Do you mind if I talk to you guys?
Let me ask you, John.
And if you could deliver a message to Congress, what would it be? Yeah, we're live on Facebook right now. How you guys doing?
Hi, I'm a teacher in Texas. I'm in Austin, Texas. And I have to let you know, as a teacher, there is no way in this great country of America, as a teacher, that I would ever carry a gun, ever. And every teacher I know is adamant about not carrying guns. This sight brings me to tears. It affects my heart. These are our babies. We teach peace. Teachers teach peace, period.
And did you bring your students out here specifically to see this monument here?
This was something we didn't expect to see. Does anybody else have anything to say? A lot of us are in tears. This is impactful.
So you guys were just visiting the Capitol, and you guys saw this.
Washington, D.C., and we're about to visit the Capitol, and I saw this and I went to Florida.
And this kind of affects you guys right at home, because these are all students that started 7,000 pairs of shoes for 7,000 students who have lost their lives, or young people that have lost their lives to gun violence.
Exactly.
So I mean, what message would you have for Congress as you walk past this monument?
Teachers should not carry guns. We teach peace. We need to get mental health and gun control coordinated. We need to get guns out of the hands of people that shouldn't have guns.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And what do you got? Anybody? You guys feel any kind of way seeing this? Anybody want to say anything?
We have some parents here from the community. Hi.
Do any parents want to talk about what they're saying here? Thank you guys very much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that was just a teacher from Texas with her students. They're visiting Washington, D.C. And they just said, she said she was brought to tears. I saw a parent also wiping her eyes. She proclaimed that she would never, ever bring a gun into the school, that she would never, ever use a gun. And so you can see that this monument's already having a profound impact. This mother holding her son. It's hard for teachers, students, children. and if you're just tuning in, what you're looking at are 7,000 pairs of shoes. 7,000 pairs of shoes, all representing a different life that has been taken. A young child who has died from gun violence since 2012, since the Newtown shooting. As you can see, the length of the monument is about, I would say, as long as a football field or near to it. That's how many children have lost their lives to gun violence. And as the day has gone on, as you can see, more people are showing up. Who are you ladies with? Are you guys with the organization? Are you guys with an organization?
The American College Representatives.
Hi, we're live on Facebook right now. Do you mind saying some words, talking about what you're looking at right now?
Okay. I'd be happy to represent, but I can't represent ACOG. I have to represent myself.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, did you come to Congress to the Capitol just to see this monument here, or did you know this was going to be here?
I had heard this was going to be here. We're actually here to talk about women's health, but women's health is children's health and family health, and this is incredible.
What kind of emotions, are you getting just seeing this 7,000 pairs of shoes representing 7,000 children who have passed away to gun violence since 2012?
It's overwhelming. I have a son who's 11, and he was a Sandy Hook age kid. And he's organized a walkout at his central middle school. Incredible visual.
Those walkouts are happening tomorrow all across the nation, even here in Maryland, Virginia, and DC. If you can say something to Congress right now about what you're saying here, what is happening, especially with gun reform, what would you say as a mother?
As a mom, we need to stop the violence. This is absolutely ridiculous. Look at the faces of those kids. Look at these shoes. We owe them better.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for asking.
So as you guys can see, this is very emotional for mothers, parents, students, teachers. We're getting a lot of testimonials from a lot of people who are just walking by, just happening to see it as they get to Washington, D.C. A huge response here. All asking Congress to find a way to stop the violence and the killing. We've seen a lot of tearful testimonies. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Circa. If you're just now tuning in, what you're looking at is almost a football field length of shoes. 7,000 pairs of shoes here, all representing 7,000 lives of children who have lost their lives to gun violence. The organization that has put this together said they're doing this because the children can't do it themselves. They passed away. They can't come here themselves. So they delivered these shoes to the Capitol building to show Congress what has happened so far and that changes need to be made. Now, these shoes have come from all over the country, including the D.C., Maryland, Virginia area. Celebrities have donated shoes. Alyssa Milano and Chelsea Handler, to name a couple, all doing it for the hope of gun reform. Hold on, there seems to be a woman here holding a sign. Excuse me, miss. We're live on Facebook right now. Can I see that sign that you're holding up and what it says? Congress or schools can have no more metal detectors. What brought you out here today?
Oh, I just saw it on the news.
You saw it on the news and decided to come out and see it? What is it? What does it make you feel? How do you feel just watching, looking at these pairs of shoes representing?
It's just fun.
Is there anything you want to say to Congress?
Just stop screwing around.
Thank you very much.
We'll continue to fight. However long it takes. We'll continue to fight. It should not be mass killings. We should not normalize mass shootings, mass killings, because in result, this is what happens. I look every day. My son left and went to Egypt to organize something. My son turned 30. And when my son turned 30, out of the blue, he said, Mom, Dave almost turned. He both turned 30. He won't be here, many of them. Not just Davon. He had another cousin, Davon, Antoine, many of them. How long? What does it take? What does it take in America and in the globe for us to say, stop, no more, no more? Sorry.
A mother who has lost her son to gun violence out here for this monument. We have more students walking by, taking a glimpse of what's happening out here. See if I can make. Excuse me if you guys can hear my breathing. It's not a warm day here. It's very cold. And that didn't stop the organizers from putting down 7,000 pairs of shoes for 7,000 children who have lost their lives to gun violence since 2012 and the Newtown shootings. We've seen some emotional testimony from people just walking by, students, teachers, parents who have lost kids, parents who have kids that are of this school age, all coming to tears as they realize how many kids have actually lost their lives to violence and shootings.
Are you live?
Yes, I'm live. There seems to be a group of students, don't know where they're from, who decide to stop and take a picture in front of the monument here. That's the thing, the U.S. Capitol has a lot of visitors, and as they just walk by visiting Washington, D.C., they see this, they find out what it is, and it seems to be making somewhat of an impact, at least for the people that are walking by. If you are just now joining us, we're live right outside the U.S. Capitol building. Excuse me. We're live right outside the U.S. Capitol building. We're live outside the U.S. Capitol building in Washington, D.C., where 7,000 pairs of shoes, 7,000 pairs of shoes, representing 7,000 children who have lost their lives to gun violence since the Newtown shootings in 2012. All these shoes were donated from across the country by celebrities, by people who just want to put it all in perspective, guys. I've been saying it for the past hour or so. It's about a football field length of shoes here. That's how many children have lost their lives to the Newtown shootings since the Newtown shootings in 2012. What's going on, everybody? If you're just now tuning into Circa, we're live outside the U.S. Capitol building. Where about football, like children's shootings on the South Lawn, all representing a different child's life that is taken by gun violence since the Newtown shootings in 2012. It's a very windy and cold day, but that hasn't stopped people from coming out and checking it out. I don't know how long you guys have been with us. If you guys are just tuning in, we've had testimonials from teachers from Houston, Texas. We've had testimonials from students, tearful responses from mothers who have lost children, mothers who have children of this age, all kinds. Once they realize how many kids have been affected by gun violence. Oh, my God. What's going on, everybody? If you are just now tuning in, we're outside the U.S. Capitol building with 7,000 pairs of shoes on the South Lawn, representing 7,000 children who have lost their lives to gun violence since 2012's Sandy Hook school shooting. As you can see, parents are walking with their children, walking by. We spoke to some parents earlier who gave tearful testimonies, asking for Congress to make some change. You know, everyone we talked to today has we talked to everyone we talked to so far today, I would say has said that something needs to change, that the madness needs to stop. This is really, really connected with folks on a different level. This visual aid of just seeing how many kids has really evoked a lot of emotion. And if you're watching, you probably can understand why. And people are coming out, guys, and I don't know if you guys know the circumstances of the weather out here in Washington, D.C. I would say it's about 30 degrees. If you've been out here as long as I have, it probably feels like it's 10 degrees, and people are taking time out, and they're coming out and supporting and just watching. We've had people out here for 30 minutes to an hour, all just coming to pay their respects, show their respects, and show support. You hear a lot about mass shootings, but until you realize how many kids are actually being affected by it, I think that's what's really hitting home for a lot of folks here today. And if you're just tuning in to Circle right now, we're live outside the U.S. Capitol building in Washington, D.C. 7,000 pairs of shoes, children's shoes, to represent the 7,000 children who have lost their lives to gun violence since the 2012 Sandy Hook mass shooting. 7,000 children. If you guys are just now tuning in, let me give you a brief synopsis of what's going on here. As you can see, we're right outside the U.S. Capitol building in Washington, D.C. And these shoes aren't just here for donation. These are donated shoes, but they're here for representation. 7,000 pairs of shoes, 7,000 plus actually, because there was a woman here who came and added some more once all these shoes were down. 7,000 shoes representing 7,000 lives that have been taken by gun violence, and the lives are those of young children. 7,000 children have lost their lives to gun violence since the 2012 Sandy Hook shooting. The organization responsible for this monument said these children couldn't fight for themselves, so they did it for them by bringing these shoes to Congress's doorstep. Guys, I'm being told that even more people are tuning in now. And to give you guys another synopsis, not to sound like a broken record here, but these are 7,000 pairs of shoes representing 7,000 people who have lost, 7,000 children, not people, children who have lost their lives to mass shootings since 2012, the Sandy Hook mass shooting occurred. Now, as you can see, women are stopping by. We've had mothers, children, people who have been victimized by mass shootings stop by and give tearful testimonies in the past hour and a half or so. As you can see, this is about, and I don't know if you guys can tell from the angles that I'm giving, but this was about, I'd say, a football field worth of shoes here. I'm walking around to give you guys an idea of how long this is. This is how many children have lost their lives to gun violence. All the way in the back here, this is the last shoe in this corner. This is how small this shoe is. Excuse me. Sorry. $7,000 shoes. 7,000 children have lost their lives. 7,000. Now, this monument of shoes comes weeks after the latest school mass shooting. Well, at least the one that garnered a bunch of headlines in Florida. President Trump has met with students since that shooting. Senator Marco Rubio was part of a town hall. Number of kids asking politicians not to take the NRA's money. These mass shootings have even led to some reform in some states. I believe Florida raised the limit to by a rifle to 21, and the NRA filed a lawsuit. You know, we'll fact check these things. I'm saying these things as I'm shooting, but as you can see, I started walking around this monument, I want to say about 5 minutes ago. I'm just now getting to the other side, and I haven't even gotten to the final part yet. I started this walk about 5 minutes ago, guys. That's how many shoes are here. That's how many children have lost their lives since 2012 Sandy Hook shooting. More people are showing up. Just watching. I'm gonna see if I can get around to that. More children are showing up, stopping by to check out the monument. Excuse me, sorry, I'm just... This is the crowd that's stopping by now. Excuse me, man. Excuse me. Where you guys coming from? Where you visiting? We're live on Facebook right now. I don't know if you want to be on Facebook. If you don't, just let me know. You're from Florida? Are you visiting the DC area? Yeah.
So unless we start listening to teachers and educators and the police in this country, we really don't want just teachers to be armed as the only solution. You have to look at a multi-level, multi-pronged effort. You're not going to resolve the problem.
Do you think when you look at these shoes here, do you think they represent a strong enough image to change something?
I think it does if the word gets out. I didn't know about this until this morning, personally. And it just happened we happened to be here, and I decided let me get some of my own photographs, with actually trying to have the Capitol building blurred out as a response, artistically speaking. But this needs to get the word out. And I think if you can do what they do at the Holocaust Museum, if you can kind of connect it to a face. This is a young child, say, at Newtown, or this is a young child in Parkland, or let's be real here. This is, streets of Chicago. This is, Black Lives Matter. This is, what I also want to, this is nothing new. And why did it take, unfortunately, for 17 people at a mostly white school in Broward County, Florida, for this to become such a rallying point? This has been going on for a long time.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thanks
you.
a lot.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
Where are you visiting from?
We're visiting from Miami, Florida.
Miami, Florida. And these are your students here? Are you a teacher?
Yes, I'm their teacher.
And did you guys come up for this, or did you guys?
We came here just as a general Washington, D.C. trip, and then this is our last day, and we decided to come to Capitol. We heard about this morning, and okay, let's go check this out. And then, the fact is, we're students and we're teachers. We're I should say I hate to use that term front line, but we are front line.
Yeah, this impacts you guys
Tremendously
greatly.
so.
And so when you saw this, what was the response from your students? Did anybody say anything to
And
you?
I think we just really got here 5 minutes ago. I haven't really been able to gauge a reaction because I wanted to take photographs for my own self and I zeroed in on just one pair of shoes with that in the background, the Capitol building, artistically speaking. But I think we'll definitely talk about it today, and I think it's something to think about because we are affected. I've had students that were afraid to go to school the day after what we heard what happened at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. So it affects all of us, Since I've been a teacher now for 15 years, and that's always been on my mind. Do I have to possibly die today? What if it's something like that happened in my school? How do I react? Would I have the courage? And that's something that most of us go to our jobs. You probably don't do that when you're a reporter. Will I have the courage to respond to a shooting taking place in front of me? That's never on the table.
Well, I want to say never, but yeah.
Never, but yeah. Especially if you work around here, but that's usually not on your thought process. But sometimes in the back of your head, as a teacher now, since I've been a teacher for 15 years, that's something that I've thought about more than once in my career.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Try and give our condolences or give your prayers or respects, and yet you give us that and nothing else. You just give us words. You don't give us action, and then that action turns into this. So many dead and so many injured, and you sit there and still are wondering to yourself, what are we doing? And that's what the people need is action, but they can't do that.
What would your type of action be?
And it's not necessarily restricting guns. It's just making sure that it's thorough, the background checks are thorough, people are making sure they don't have mental illnesses, and there's actually a website that produces guns or procures guns for other students, and you don't need a background check, and you don't need any of that. And I think that if you took some of that away and made a little bit more restriction to it, it doesn't have to be complete. Just make sure that this can't happen or give guns to these people just seriously, because people don't really understand how much damage this can do until they actually see it for themselves.
Thank you. Oh my Lord.
How old are you?
South Miami Middle. Please put
You're
that in there. South Miami Middle School.
Wow, is that what school you go to? South Miami Middle?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you were like,
in our shop.
Okay, I'll take him back now. Sam, you did a great job. Let's go. Good job.
Thank you.
Okay, Mary, take over.
Sam was on TV in Russia, and he's from Russia.
Thank you.
We just heard a response from a teacher and one of his students from Miami, Florida. They're representing a school in South Florida. And they just gave a really good response to what they saw here. They said they didn't even know about this until this morning. They didn't know this was happening until this morning. And the response they just gave, I thought, was pretty strong. And that's the kind of response we were getting all day this morning. As people continue to come out and take a look at the shoes that represent the 7,000 children who have lost their lives since Sandy Hook in 2012. And, I don't know if you guys can see this. I'm going to try to zoom in. More students are stopping by the minute, They're passing by the minute. So the people who are as that teacher from South Florida just said, sorry for the shaky video, but as the teacher from South Florida just said, these are the people who are on the front line. 7,000 of them have lost their lives since 2012. as he tried to tell me as a reporter, you don't necessarily see yourself in the line of fire as much, and that's sad to say.
When you hear about the class and looking at the door and thinking, oh, what would I do if I was the first into the building? I have a 15-year-old sister.
That's for a child.
Yeah. Well, no, this is WCU where I live. I lost my hat. Okay, yeah.
We don't have an answer.
She's from DC. I'm from North Carolina.
Middle school, she wants to. This is not normal. This isn't okay.
Yeah, so what do you say to 2.5-year-old that says, why are these shoes here? Right. She's already asked me that twice.
This is your granddaughter?
Yeah, I don't have an answer to that.
What did you say she asked you?
She asked me why the shoes are here. I don't have an answer to that. For a 2.5-year-old, what do you say?
Did you bring her out here to see the shoes, or?
Yeah, did she see the shoes?
As a grandparent, you know, how does this make you feel knowing that, you know, children about the same age as your granddaughter or just a little older have lost their lives to gun violence? What kind of emotions do you
I just
get?
hope it's a better world for her. I teach college students, and I teach them about change and changing the world, and I just hope that they can change the world for them and for my granddaughter and grandson.
Do you think there's anything that Congress could possibly do to make those changes?
Well, they can talk to each other. Perhaps they need to bring the NRA on board. Perhaps they need to get the skeptics on board to talk together, not just the different sides by themselves. But, you know, the NRA has one view, Congress and other people have another view. Why don't we just talk together and try to figure it out together instead of separately? Then we can get buy-in from different people if we come up with a plan together rather than separately.
Thank you.
She didn't want to come.
And that, you know, this notion that we tell our kids, like, school is, you go and you can be safe, you're there to learn, and it's not feeling so safe anymore. Yeah. And this concept that these representatives of the farm are teachers absolutely terrifying. I've had many teachers that I do not want. The idea of them having active people.
Just tuning in to something, let me tell you what you be saying right now. 7,000 shoes are sitting on the south lawn of the U.S. Capitol building. And they're not here for no reason. These shoes represent, excuse me, it was very cold and the wind just is not making it any better. But to continue, these shoes represent the 7,000 children who have lost their lives to gun violence since 2012 Sandy Hook mass shooting. Now, these shoes have come by donation from all over the country, from right here in D.C., Maryland, and Virginia, from actors and actresses and celebrities like Vanessa Bayer, Alyssa Milano, Chelsea Handler. As one of the organizers of this monument described to me, they brought these shoes out here because the children who could have been wearing these shoes can't speak for themselves. And so there's one little hat. We've talked to teachers, students, mothers, all of whom have demanded some type of change. And the irony, a woman, a grandmother, who we just finished speaking to, brought her daughter out here, her granddaughter, who has no idea, who asked the, excuse me? Sorry guys, I was talking back to my producer back in the studio. But yeah, just we have a young girl here walking through the crowd of shoes.
What do you think of the shoes? Like it? Evelyn, what do you think of the shoes? Yeah.
And then there was something gathering.
Who's this kid right here?
Nice to meet you.
We actually probably.
What's going on, guys? If you are just now tuning in,
You guys are just the warriors, man. Hi. Oh, really? I should have found your car. I keep finding these.
if you're just tuning in right now, what you're looking at are 7,000 shoes right outside the U.S. Capitol building,
I'll read it.
representing the 7,000 children's lives who have been lost to gun violence in the U.S. since 2012.
It's a kind of protest.
It's a monument to the children who died from gun violence.
Okay.
So 7,000 pairs of shoes for the 7,000 kids.
It's American kids or okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. In
Since 2012, since the Sandy Hook shooting.
Thank you.
Couldn't it just be a little bit warmer? You can get that in for the picture. Yes. Too tired right Yeah, there's that.
Excuse me.
All right, Omar. Mike.
What's going on, everybody? If you guys are just now tuning in, what we're looking at is a field of shoes, 7,000 pairs to be exact, all of which representing a child that has lost their lives to gun violence since the 2012 Sandy Hook mass shooting. Shoes have come together to make about a football field worth of memories and memorials to young kids who have lost their lives to gun violence, and they're sitting right outside the U.S. Capitol building in Washington, D.C. The organization that put this together says that they did it because these 7,000 kids couldn't do it for themselves anymore. They can't speak up for themselves, so they're doing it on their behalf. This monument started at 7:30 this morning. And was expected to go on until 2 o'clock. Some of these shoes are dedicated to specific people. Christian Hayne. His mother dropped these from Christian Hayne for his mom. She was killed in 2005 from gun violence. Guys, what we're looking at right now is a 7,000 people, well, 7,000 shoes representing 7,000 lives lost by gun violence. These are all memorials for children who have lost their lives from gun violence. Seeing more people walk by. Start taking photos. We spoke to the students, teachers who have come by already. Except for responses from mothers who have lost, mothers who are afraid to lose. Guys, if you're just tuning in the circle that you're looking at right now, there's a field of shoes, 7,000 pairs to be exact, all representing 7,000 children who have lost their lives to gun violence since 2012 Sandy Hook massacre. The shoes have been placed right outside the U.S. Capitol building. As a visual aid for Congress, as the organization that placed them out here, wants Congress to take action for gun reform. I don't know if you guys can hear all that wind, but that's not stopping people from coming out and showing support for this memorial. Hi, how you doing? This is a memorial. There's 7,000 pairs of shoes here to represent the 7,000 children.
It doesn't matter about the shoes, it's the shoes represent. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
7,000 kids have lost their lives to gun violence in 2012.
In 2012.
12 Sandy Hook massacre shooting. Yeah.
Since the 2012 madness.
Man.
We're live on Facebook right now. You guys just found out what this memorial is.
Yes.
Do you mind talking about how it makes you feel knowing, you were shocked to hear there were 7,000 kids that have been killed since then. What do you think Congress should do about gun violence reform? That's what this protest is about.
Oh, I think that they should definitely pass strict laws about guns. I support the effort to raise the age that they're talking about to 21, but I think there should be stricter restrictions on guns and gun possession.
What do you think should happen?
I think that there should be stronger tests for mental health. I think there should be no sale of assault rifles at all. Why do you need an assault rifle? So I think that there should be a restriction on the types of guns, as well as the state of mind, so to speak. If someone has a history of mental health illness, I don't think they should be able to have a gun.
So, 7,000 kids have lost their lives to gun violence. Do you have kids? Is this your daughter here, or you're good friends? Do you feel that that's too big of a number? How shocking is that to you?
Well, since 2012, I never thought of it in those terms. It was shocking, but I'm going to make clear that even if it was 1,000, it's too many. 7,000 is really big, and 1,000 is too many. This country could do something about it if it really wants to. When I was saying about mental health issues, I don't mean just anyone with depression or anything, but people who have a history of violent illness should not be able to get a gun, just like they restrict people who have been felons. So there should be restrictions.
Thank you very much. And we're just grabbing people as they walk by, and they're seeing this visual aid for the first time. Now, if you're just tuning in, these are 7,000 pairs of shoes out here. 7,000 plus, actually, because some have been added by people just passing by since this has started. To represent the 7,000 children who have lost their lives to gun violence since 2012 Sandy Hook massacre shooting. The organization behind this has done this to try to raise awareness for Congress to pass gun reform laws. This is all happening in Washington, D.C., right outside the Capitol building. Excuse me, please. I don't want to ruin your shot. Sorry. I don't know how you guys can see how deep this is, but I say it's about almost a football field length of shoes. That's how many children have lost their lives to gun violence. All right, guys, if you guys have been tuning in, you've been watching Circa. This is right outside the U.S. Capitol building in Washington, D.C., where 7,000 shoes have been placed on the South Lawn to represent the 7,000 children who have lost their lives to gun violence since 2012, since the Sandy Hook massacre. This display has been open since 8:30. It's expected to stay open to 2 a.m., and you can find more information about it at circa.com, at our website, and on our Facebook page and Twitter pages. Feel free to go there for more information. I'm Omar Muhammad, signing out.
So my shot is I focus, you can pose with the Capitol in the background. All right. Yeah, I think more. Sir, good to see you. Pleasure.